Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. Real Estate Coaching Radio is the nation's #1 daily radio show for realtors who demand authentic, real-time coaching. Get ready for fluff-free, unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what's truly working to get you into action, helping others, and making money now in today's real estate market. Now to our hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we're back, Julie. It is February the 10th, and you have been blessed with a full day of one-on-one coaching calls.
And more to come. Yeah.
More to come.
Yeah.
Yes. So what do you messaged me halfway through a coaching call you were having with one of our great clients in Austin, Texas, and you announced this. It was a real quick message that one of her listings, was she on the list side or the buy side, sold for $1 million over asking.
$1 million over asking. Yes, you saw that right.
In Austin, Texas.
To which I asked, are we sure the buyer counted their zeros correctly and they didn't mean to go 100,000 over? But in fact, the buyers were quite sophisticated. One of them, I think one of them's a stock guy, and the wife owned a bank or something like that. And yes, they're from California. They're Chinese buyers, but they're from California. Austin is full of this type of experience. Yep. Nashville is having this experience. But $1 million over, that's a bigger one to go over.
I wonder if that's a record. There has to be somebody that's paid more than that over.
Yeah, well, we'll find out. I'll bring it up on Premier Facebook Live and see if anybody can top that overage. But
can you imagine the agents, if there was some private Facebook group, how they'd be arguing that the listing agent underpriced it?
Mm-hmm. Interesting point, though, okay? Here's what's weird about this is we know it wasn't underpriced because it's actually been on the market for a while. These people missed out on a house down the street, decided they loved the neighborhood, and came back to this one that has been around for a while. So guess what our lovely agent in Austin is going to be doing? Calling everybody in that neighborhood to see who's next. So yeah, one thing leads to the next. And the other thing that I think is developing out there is, especially on the buyer side, we had Facebook Live yesterday, and all of the problems that they had were buyer side problems. So for example, making sure that when you are waiving an appraisal and guaranteeing that the buyer will make up the difference, that the buyer actually understands what that means, right? And if you don't have a cap on that, you could be putting your buyer in a situation where now they've removed all of their other contingencies. This was an actual case from yesterday. They've removed all their contingencies, but they expected it to come in 10,000 high, and it came in 20,000 high.
So walk me through that. So on the surface, what you're saying is they waived their appraisal contingency, but does that mean they're also, what if the financing itself is contingent on the appraisal? Do they also waive the financing contingency, or are these cash buyers?
That they waived the finance contingency.
Thus,
they are stuck with what they agreed to. And, there's a lot of these sort of gray area cases where agents are trying to figure out how, if I did all of that, how can I now get my buyer out that can't hack that can't either doesn't want, this wasn't even a doesn't want to, they had the money, now they're trying to get out even though they've got the money to do it with, because everybody expected it to come in 10,000 high instead of, you know what I'm saying, that was cut by 10 instead of 20.
So when does the earnest money go hard on deals like this that you're saying?
It's written into every contract's a little bit different, but certainly something like that, if they try to back out, I would expect them to lose it because all of the other contingencies are waived. My point being, from a coaching standpoint, when you're having to be that competitive to get your buyer to win, you better be real clear with them what they actually signed up for, okay? Now, there are some markets, all this is a little bit different market to market. There are some markets where you have like a hold harmless agreement, and it enumerates, I understand what waiving the appraisal means. I understand that I'm not going to have the seller pay for radon. I understand all of these different things so that the agent's protected, the brokerage is protected when a buyer might freak out, understanding what they actually signed up for. And I think it's worse because of DocuSign, because nobody ever reads anything. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's causing a lot of buyer side consternation.
And there's another one you told me about too, where it was a buyer it was not an extraordinarily expensive house, if I remember correctly. This was maybe last week, where the buyer waived the financing contingency, or I'm sorry, waived the appraisal, but it was still contingent on financing, but they had to agree to pay for this. They got the seller to agree if the house, whatever the over contract price was, if the appraisal came in low, that they would split the difference with the seller.
Yes.
And the seller actually said, no, whatever the above appraisal price that comes in at, it's your problem. You're going to write the check for it. And so that's the other thing that's happening.
Yeah, and I would encourage agents to write that with a limitation to how far your buyer can handle it, right? So if you're having to make up the difference with cash, because the lender's not going to let you finance it, that's the whole point of the appraisal. So if you have to make up the difference in cash, and that buyer was planning on using that cash for their down payment, now you don't have a deal anymore. So you have to be very clear on this stuff.
It's worth mentioning too, a lot of these buyers, they might actually have an alternative source of, income, or essentially another bucket of cash they could pay the house, buy the house with cash and then refinance it.
Yes, there's some of that going on.
That might be the way to go if you have somebody that's got money from the stock market or savings, retirement account or something. Maybe they just want to borrow against those accounts. Not normal advice that we'd ever give. Trust me. Julie and I are always more conservative, especially when it comes to financial stuff. But when it comes to situations like this, that would put the buyers in an all-cash situation. And then after closing, they can just refinance, pull the money back out, and replenish the accounts. That might be the move.
That's an easier process.
Right.
And it gives them freedom of time, which they don't have in these crazy situations.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And then there was the case of the either the listing agent or the seller saying, I'll accept your deal, but the buyer's agent has to give up their commission.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty extreme, right? And think of the position that puts the buyer's agent in if they say no. Now the buyer's going to be mad at them. The buyer might not get the house. They'll probably lose the client over it. So I think there's a lot of ethical situations out there that are really making agents stretch their brains to both take care of their client and get them what they want, but also make sure they're protecting them on kind of the back end of the deal. So that it's an adventure out there, that's for sure.
It does always go back to
be the listing agent.
Be the listing agent is what I was about to say. I mean, all the pain and suffering, it almost always happens on the buyer side of the transaction. And the market's just going to continue to beat on the buyer side of the transaction. There's no doubt about it. We've been talking about that endlessly on this podcast. All the downward pressures on buyer side commissions they're definitely in place. It's definitely going to happen aggressively this year. To Julie's example of even getting to the point where the buyer agent's going to have to learn, and I do believe this is true. It only makes sense. The buyer agents are going to have to learn how to present to the buyer why they're worth whatever the commission is, and that the buyer is going to have to agree that they're going to cover the buyer agent commission in the event that it's not an entitlement of the transaction. You guys are so used to flipping on the MLS or whatnot and seeing that there's a co-op for X percent, and that's that. It doesn't even have to be a conversation with the buyer ever. Well, it's going to have to be a conversation with the buyer, and based on what we're experiencing from all the thousands of coaching clients we have all over the United States, and now picking up some all over the of the world, we're going to start seeing, I think, a lot of real, buyer agents having to learn the skills that are not so dissimilar that they would have had to learn how to be listing agents. And then maybe they'll have the epiphany, hey, you know what? Maybe I should have just focused on being a listing agent out of the gates
when I
got my license. And that is what we coach you guys to do. That's our primary focus. Obviously, we teach you on all aspects of building your real estate business, but at the end of the day, it's the listing agents that have the leverage. If you want to make it so you don't have to worry about whatever the latest salacious headline is on Inman News about some looming tech, monster that's going to try to eat your lunch. Just focus on being a listing agent, because that's where you're going to find your greatest amount of leverage. And by the way, if you guys have yet to download your 2021 Real Estate Treasure Map, which is your fill-in-the-blank business plan, just go ahead and text 2021 to 855-685-1045. So on today's podcast, Julie has decided, based on a bunch of emails that we've been getting from you guys, that we're going to be introducing you to, or in many cases reintroducing you to, what we call the survival plan. And she's reading this right out of the book. So if you see her and hear her shuffling around on the pages in the book, that's why. And the survival plan, Julie, you designed this originally for what purpose? Who is this for?
Well, so nice segue. The title is, When is it time to use the survival plan? And I'm going to give you 8 quick examples, and this probably will become a podcast series about the survival plan, maybe 2 to 3 podcasts on this. So we'll just start it out today. When do you use the survival plan? Number 1, when you're having a temporary, like 30 to 60 day cash flow issue for whatever reason. Number 2, when you're struggling financially and have zero cash reserve. Some of you may have multiple of these points. Number 3, when you have nothing pending currently. So maybe you're actually an experienced agent, but you've gotten down to no pendings. Number 4, when you are listless and at 0 listings. Number 5, when you are recovering from a big financial hit for whatever reason. And typically I hear medical reasons. I hear, had to replace a car, whatever the reason is. Number 6, when you have extra bills that you hadn't planned for. Number 7, when you just lost some deals you were counting on for income. It's pretty tough when you don't just lose one deal, but sometimes they lose batches of deals, 2 or 3 die at the same time. Number 8, when you are in rebuilding mode for whatever reason. That would be, returning agents that don't have anything going on
Or
yet.
new agents, really.
Or new agents. But this plan is not just for new agents. Even top producers and seasoned veterans have had to use the survival plan from time to time. The aim of what we teach you is to help you become a strong enough business person and real estate agent so you don't have to use the survival plan very often, but you know it's there and you know when to use it.
I probably had 3 or 4 texts where I told them to use the survival plan just in the past, probably 3 or 4 days. And I get at least one a day where the solution to their problem when they're asking what the hell should I be doing is not buy leads, not, worry about branding and make a bunch of TikTok videos. The answer definitely is to get to work and follow the survival plan. And just like everything we teach you guys to do, it's always going to be very practical and tactile. And hey, guess what? Doesn't cost you any money. It does require some effort. It does require you doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. But the end result will be you'll be no longer worrying about your survival. You'll be moving on to thrival. Is that a word?
Thrival. It is now. You coined it.
It is? Okay, good.
Good job.
It's a new Tim word.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to do the survival plan rules, and then we'll do the actual plan tomorrow. Okay?
Good job.
Okay, so survival plan rules. Number 1, follow the plan. It's a temporary 30 to 90-day survival plan. It's not the rest of your life. When you follow it, you'll be able to get out of survival mode more quickly. Number 2, plan rule. Don't pick and choose what you're going to implement. Do all of it. Number 3, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just do the work and be in action. Do it the way we coach you to do it. Number 4, do nothing but dollar productive activity during survival mode. Nothing. No tweaking, no playing around, no social media, no messing
Did you
about.
say tweaking?
Tweaking. I've got to go tweak my website. Oh. That kind of thing. Not
Julie,
twerking.
You sound sarcastic.
I do. Well, you know what? I get tired of it sometimes.
Seriously,
Okay.
right?
Yes. Okay. Number 5, don't spend more money than you have during survival mode. So don't
Or
dig the
ever.
hole deeper. I mean,
Or
exactly.
ever. Yeah.
Number 8, let's see, I'm sorry. Number 6, to get an accountability partner to help support you as you work through this. We're very good at that on our Facebook Live page. They're very good at connecting with each other for that sort of thing. Number 7, commit to working 5 days a week for 8 hours daily in real estate. More is okay. You do not have the luxury of excuses or time management. Just get to work. They don't get to have something wrong with them. What's wrong with them is they have no pendings.
Well, and most importantly, and this is, you're circling around on all these little subpoints, but the essence of it is stop getting ready to get started and looking for more solutions. Just actually follow the plan and do exactly what you're supposed to be doing, exactly like we tell you to be doing it. Guys, we're not new at this. We've been coaching agents and been in the real estate industry for, dare I say, more than 2 decades, which is shocking to say.
Time.
And these plans that we create and all the things that are in our book, Harris Rules, and all our coaching programs are designed to work in every price range and every market condition and every agent, no matter what their level of experience is. Real estate is the easiest, most simple, simplest, most elegant business that people love to make too complicated.
Yes.
And love to overanalyze
Well
and love to overthink. This is the survival plan. Write down point number 1.
Yes. Rule number 8. Don't associate with anyone negative starting now. Number 9, remind yourself daily that this is only temporary and you are taking action. And number 10 is maybe the most important. Actually ask for help when you need it. There's so much back and forth. And by ask for help when you need it, I do not mean post on Facebook on a realtor website saying, what do I do?
Julie, talk about that experience you had the other day on that. Don't say the name of the Facebook group because they'll mob us. But there was a Facebook group that Julie was one of our coaching clients. Drew essentially sent a link to Julie and said, Julie, you got to help this agent out who wasn't a coaching client, probably wasn't even a podcast listener. But one of our coaching clients saw this agent was basically drowning in this particular Facebook group with some question that they asked. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I've just seen so much back.
The one,
yeah,
I know, but the one that you told me about where the agent was saying, I have a seller who can't make their payment or whatnot.
Oh, yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't skip any details because
It
it's
was
important
amazing.
to understand.
Well, on previous podcasts, we've been coaching you guys to be very adamant about talking to your database for many reasons. But one of them is that there are people in your database who are coming off of forbearances. Remember that all of this started to hit the fan right about this time last year, February, March. Forbearances are allowed up to 12 months. Then it's at the lender's discretion if they're going to give you more. Okay, those are the rules. So this person had posted, I've got a past client that I sold them the house 2 years ago. They have fallen on hard times and can't make their payment anymore. What should I do? And it was like 37 posts before somebody said, get them either. This person hadn't been in forbearance yet. Okay, so sorry, I rewind. They'd fallen on hard times. They still have equity. What should I do? But it was 37 posts before the word forbearance was said. And I thought, isn't that interesting that all agents, they're pouncing on the opportunity of the sale. I can appreciate that. But let's lead with doing what's right for the homeowner and present some options. So in coaching, we coach that you should know about what the options are. You can do A, B, or C, which is best for you. Not, sell it today or else. And then the other comments were, oh my God, it's going to be a short sale and the market's going to hit the fan. And it was just so, I really felt bad for that agent because the level of confusion about all these other agents piling on, it wouldn't have helped.
That's the ultimate fallacy, basically, in asking a mob for advice.
Yeah.
You're not qualifying whom you're getting the advice from. And generally speaking, people like to, write soliloquies about the wisdom of mobs. That hasn't been my experience.
No, I'll give you one even better from this morning.
Most mobs are not very smart.
Goodness. There was a post this morning that had like 1,000, almost 1,100 posts very quickly. And some agent had posted, now that Zillow and EXP are merging, what are we going to do? I know, my head almost blew off, right? Because that's not happening. That's never going to happen unless you've got some intel that I don't.
No.
But man, the back and forth on that and just I would say probably the first, I was just scanning down and it had to be the first 50 posts. People totally believed that.
Yep.
It's why? Why do you go there?
But more importantly, though, if you really want to cut through all of it, going to most of those websites, well, it's just like on Clubhouse, for example.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We intentionally will pay attention to what you guys are talking about on social because there's only so many little tentacles Julie and I can have in so many different agents' businesses and so many different markets, right? And so for us to stay frosty and, essentially stay at the front of the curve with what's going on in your minds, we have to pay attention to what you're talking about. And I have to say the dissemination of information, the quality of what's being passed around to each other, what you guys are saying to each other, it's gotten way worse. And the reason is because you guys don't have, and you don't realize this, you don't have any perspective. Your perspective doesn't go back enough years to realize it's the experience thing. And, it goes back to the whole, fake expert thing or fake influencer thing. Fake. It's the point of it. So when you go to these, big forums and whatnot, and you ask for advice, if you're not knowledgeable enough about the question you're asking, you're going to probably do something that is maybe even illegal or immoral or unethical, or certainly in the very least not in the best interest of the seller. You're going to follow bad advice because most of the agents that are on those websites are going to be telling you things that they only know from their handful of transactions over their handful of years in the business. So you have to be incredibly discerning who you listen to, what you read, what you pay attention to. It is also very interesting to me on the Clubhouse app how you'll have all of these people wall to wall telling you that the key to your happiness and long-term, success in any business, let alone real estate, is doing videos and doing this and the other thing. And and if you look at their little profiles, every single one of them are, guess what business they're in? Duh, right? They're in the business of basically selling you some widget that's designed to do exactly what they told you it was incredibly important that you do in your business. Well, doesn't your practical sense, nerve endings start to flare up when you're listening to this stuff and you see the absolute conflict of interest that they have when giving you their advice? Now, it's not like that every time, but at the very least, start being very, very selective of who you listen to, what you listen to. Otherwise, you're going to not get anywhere in your business and you're going to end up essentially following a bunch of paths that lead you nowhere. Thus, back to the ultimate, the survival plan here.
Exactly. Well, I want to start the actual plan tomorrow because we're running up against the Facebook Live.
Well, we can give them a couple. Let's give them 1 or 2 points. We're good on time.
The actual
I'm paying
plan.
attention, lady.
Okay.
I won't make you late.
All right, good. So what is the point of the plan? Let's do that first. This plan will create 3 new listings, 3 new buyers, and 3 pendings, 3 closings in the next 90 days or less, as long as you implement 100% of the plan.
So let's stop there.
Yeah.
If they had 3 new listings, and let's say none of them sell, let's just say,
Okay.
but they at least had 3 new buyers in contract.
Yep.
Okay, and so 3 new listings, 3 new buyers. In most markets, that's going to equate to probably at least $60,000 in now and eventual revenue. At least.
Well, if you count all of that together.
Yeah.
For sure. And yes, future generated revenue. But remember, you can't have that expectation if you don't actually follow the plan. Often our students get immediate results in 30 days or less, so ask for help if you get swamped. We are trying to make you swamped. Number 1, make a list of 100 past clients, center of influence, contacts, professional associates, neighbors, and friends. Put this into an organized database, but don't do the database first. Do it as you go. Outlook is free, for example, so don't hit me with what's the best CRM. That's the next place they're going to go. Outlook is free, or you're probably already paying for Top Producer. Your broker has something. You can use Excel. No excuses. Even if you just use your contacts in your iPhone, make contacts.
Totally true. And there's so many free CRM apps, guys. You can find these all over iTunes or Android. This is not something. So again, Julie got herself too. When you're going through these points of the survival plan, how many of you guys are going to be stuck at, oh, good, now I get to spend 2 weeks looking for the perfect CRM.
Yeah, next excuse.
I'm going to go on a bunch of Facebook groups and take surveys about what the best CRM is. And then the next thing you know, you're spending $300 a month for a CRM you didn't need.
Exactly.
This is typical agent behavior.
cut
Don't
it
do
out.
it. Cut it out.
Yes. So make a list. I don't care what it's on, and use the list. Okay. Now, point number 2, speak with at least 5 people from your list per day. Now that's actual contact.
Now remember, this is a survival plan. We will talk about CRM and all these other things as you get out of survival mode. But for now, it's the survival plan because your goal is to get past this rough patch.
Yes. So you're going to have actual conversations with 5 people. Maybe you only have to dial 5 today, but you have to dial 50 tomorrow to have actual conversations.
Conversation is a actual conversation with a decision-making adult
about real estate.
About real estate, exactly.
Yes.
And the easiest way to do that for those of you who are a little bit, impish on having conversations that are sales-oriented is end every conversation you have, even if it didn't start out by talking about real estate, asking the simple question, oh, by the way, Julie, who do you know who's thinking about buying or selling real estate that I should be helping in this market? And you will find that will lead oftentimes to a conversation, if not a direct referral.
Yes. So speak with, using Tim's script, at least 5 people from your list per day, no matter what. Use the simple past client center of influence script that Tim just gave you, or the FORD Ford script, Family, Occupation, Recreation, Dreams. Both of these can be found on our website. When you do this 5 days per week, you will have actually spoken with all 100 of your people every 30 days. Where do you think your business will be when you've done that?
What's the key word you just said? Spoken to.
Yes.
Not emailing, not texting, not sending a video to, not sending a grasshopper video to, not doing anything. You guys have got to follow the plan directly. Pick up the phone, have the conversation. We give you all sorts of conversation outlines, aka scripts, as part of the coaching program.
None of them are hard, by the way.
No, they're easy.
They're not stressful.
Calling your centers of influence and past clients is the easiest thing ever. Look, you don't have time if you're in the survival game or survival guide here, the survival plan, to work through your psychology about what are they going to think about me if I ask for business, or I don't want to appear as a salesperson, or I don't, all this other, mental garbage you guys have floating around in your heads. If you're listening to today's podcast because you need direction, because you are in basically down a rabbit hole of financial oblivion and you want to pull yourself back up, if you're trying to build momentum, you don't have time to Dr. Phil yourself. Just get on the phone, and have the conversations that we prescribe to you.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably in the survival mode because you've allowed yourself to have all the Dr. Phil head mindset, so you don't get to have problems when you're in the survival plan. You've already blown that, and now it's time to get into action.
Mental masturbation time is over. Now it's time to get to work.
Yes. Now, as you're having these real conversations, we're going to use Tim's script. If they're not moving, ask for the referral. Who else do they know who needs your help buying or selling real estate? Get their current email address. This alone, remember, we're making 5 contacts a day, so you're going to talk to all 100 people every 30 days because there's an element of lather, rinse, repeat. Just doing that, usually gets most of our clients into some serious lead generation.
And the conversations that we want you to have, again, Julia's got to get on Premiere here in 3 minutes, but the gist of it is you're calling the seller and the point of calling the seller is to give them, the script is basically like this. Hey, Julie, this is Tim Harris. Listen, I'm calling all my friends, family, people I know and love and care about. You guys can shorten that if you'd like, but I'm trying to give you lots of different words you can use there because everyone seems to be asking me the same question. What the heck's going on at the real estate market? So you don't have to worry. I'm calling everybody today and giving a quick snapshot of what's going on with their home's value, and I've got your snapshot ready for you now. That's the gist of the script. Who's going to say no to that? Okay, and then after you give them a quick snapshot, and that's part of the script, then you end it with, oh, by the way, who do you know who's thinking about buying or selling real estate who I should be helping? And you do also ask them as part of that script if they'd like a more in-depth study of their home's value, aka a CMA, in which you're going to also ask if they do agree to a CMA, you're going to say, well, are you thinking about putting your house for sale anytime soon? You're going to ask the questions that could result in you hearing the word no. Remember, you're probably in survival mode because you have been doing everything in your power to ever hear the word and to avoid ever hearing the word no. And one of the key elements of any level of success in life is putting yourself in a position to hear the word no at least 5 times a day. That's the reason Julie's having you make 5 contacts a day, because you're putting yourself in a position to hear the word no at least 5 times a day. And as such, you're going to realize when you hear it, you don't just burst into flames. It's not the worst thing ever. You will be just fine.
Spontaneous combustion.
And after you've done this for 30 days, oh my gosh, what have Tim and Julie tricked you into? We've tricked you into actually learning how to be a prospector. We've tricked you into we've tricked you into overcoming the fear of hearing the word no. You are now going to be on a completely different trajectory.
Yes.
And we did not spend any points talking about your mindset or your vision board or your big why or any of this other stuff. We talked about you getting into action, because what happens in life for real is when you're in action, what happens is your mindset shifts. It changes. Your mindset does not, essentially, you guys are making, essentially falling victim to believing. Your mindset's first. You have to work on your mindset infinitum, and then you get into action. You get into action, and your mindset changes as you're taking the right actions towards the accomplishment of your goal. And when you see yourself doing the work, physically, see yourself doing the work and see yourself experiencing the success that comes from the work, your mindset is completely changed. You've changed the hardwiring in your brain. This is how it really works, guys, if you really want to get to work. So, Julie, speaking of which, you need to get on Premiere.
Yes. And by the way, the stuff in the survival plan works even better for people who have been in business for a while, because they're already a little bit more comfortable on the phone. They've got a bigger database.
I've not found that to be true, what you just said. I found people that have been in the business for a longer period of time absolutely are not usually the ones that are going to be easiest to get on the phone.
Oh, I'm not saying that they're easy to get them to do it because they've developed an ego, some of them. I'm saying the ones that actually get over that and do it do get good results.
Oh, for sure.
So this is not just for newbies.
Yeah, no, definitely not for newbies. And I agree with you. The people that are a little bit more, let's not call them seasoned veterans, but let's just say they're, I don't know, what would be the word? What's not seasoned? What would be well-salted veterans, let's say?
Salty types.
They're salty types. They are the ones that are going to see the most bang for the buck. This plan that you created is actually perfect, not for the people that are unconsciously incompetent, but the ones that are consciously incompetent.
Yes.
The ones in that second phase of learning, when they're done trying, done looking, done searching, done thinking, done procrastinating, done Dr. Philling. They're ready to get to work. This plan's perfect for them. Mm-hmm. Oh, and if you guys are ready to join eXp Realty, please feel free to text me directly at 512-758-0206. 512-758-0206. Of course, Julie and I would love to sponsor you into our eXp Realty group. Just text us directly at 512-758-0206, and we'll have a conversation with you about you joining Julie and I at eXp Realty. Obviously, eXp Realty is pretty much the topic du jour everywhere you turn. I know it's going to continue to be. It's just, if you think you've waited too long, I had someone text me this yesterday asking if they waited too long. Here, let me just put this in perspective. There probably are close to 50,000 eXp realtors right now in the United States, Canada, and all over the world. I'm maybe like 46 or 47. I'm not sure. But there's 2.1 million licensees in North America alone. So if you put just those two numbers in perspective, there's not even, let's say, 50,000 yet, and there's 2.1 million potential agents out there that'll join eXp just in North America. How many agents are there in the entire world? I can only guess 10 million, 15 million, 20 20 million maybe. So EXP's got a long way to go. So don't make the mistake of, waiting any longer, because you've not waited too long yet. But if you wait another maybe 2 or 3 years, maybe you would have. Now is the perfect time. So if you're ready to join EXP and you're looking for the right sponsor, text me directly at 512-758-0206. In the meantime, you guys have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you on the show tomorrow.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.